What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 255 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about something a little different than what I usually talk about. This is Dragon Ball Volume 1 by Akira Toriyama. This is, I think, the first 11 chapters. This is a fairy tale kung fu adventure series that was originally published in Shonen Jump. It is about this kid named Son Goku. He is a monkey boy of some kind. He has this magical bow staff that can grow larger on command, and he meets this girl named Bulma, who is searching for the 7 Dragon Balls. And they're these crystal ball type balls. When you gather all 7 of them together, you can summon the magical dragon, and he will grant you 1 wish. And they are on a quest to find these balls, and then along the way, lots of weird and unusual things happen. They meet the Turtle Hermit. He gives them a magical cloud. More specifically, he gives it to Son Goku. And then they meet Oolong, who is a shape-shifting pig. They meet Yamcha and Puar, who are bandits who are also trying to get the Dragon Balls once they find out what they are capable of. And that's basically all that happens here. This is a really fun series. Like I said, it's very much kind of based on fairy tales, at least in the beginning. Now, I've read up to, I think, Volume 4 of this series. I bought a few more of the volumes somewhat recently, but I haven't read those volumes yet. But I know that once it gets past a certain point in the series, it kind of stops drawing inspiration from Chinese fairy tales. At the beginning of the book, in a little foreword by Toriyama, he says that this is kind of sort of influenced by China, and it talks about the fairy tale of the Monkey King with a magical staff called, I think, Nairobi or something like that. So it is somewhat based on Chinese fairy tales, I believe, but then it kind of gets past that once you get a little bit more into the series. It kind of gets a little bit more into the martial arts and some of the weird science fiction stuff, like how they'll have a little capsule and they'll just throw it on the ground and it will become a bus or a house or something like that. It kind of gets more into its own lore and kind of gets away from the influences that it was drawing from when the series first started. And I don't mind that. I don't mind the fairy tale stuff either, but I don't mind that the series was kind of going off in its own direction. This is really fun, really enjoyable. I grew up watching the cartoon for a little bit. When I was in, I think, 7th grade is when I started watching Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. But this is a little bit different from the cartoons. For one, for an American reader like myself, it's a little bit more, I don't want to say mature, because it's not really mature, but it's a little bit more, it's not an all-ages book, I'll say that. There is some nudity here, there's a lot of really strange sexual situations here, and I can only assume that in Japan, that kind of thing is not as taboo as it is for some American readers. I myself, I feel like if you're going to be showing full frontal, that's automatically a over 18 kind of thing. But this book, other than the scenes where you're getting to see Bulma in the shower, it doesn't really feel like a book that's aimed at 18-year-olds. Other than those scenes, the sense of humor here, the overall tone, it feels like it's something aimed at 13-year-olds. But then they'll throw in some really strange sexual stuff. Not even sexual, because the character of Son Goku, he is very naive and very innocent. He knows absolutely nothing about the world around him. He doesn't even know what a woman looks like when he first meets Bulma. So when we see him kind of exploring some of this stuff, like at one point he takes off Bulma's panties and he sees what she looks like, and then he kind of freaks out a little bit. He's not doing it with any sense of malice. He is a very innocent, noble, pure character, but it's still very strange to see this kind of thing happening in the book. At one point, they meet the Turtle Hermit. In the cartoon, his name was Master Yoshi, or Master Roshi, not Yoshi. Yoshi is the dinosaur from Mario, but his name is something different here. I don't remember what it is here. At one point, they meet the Turtle Hermit, and then in exchange for the Dragon Ball that he gives them, he wants to take a look at Bulma wearing her panties. And she doesn't know this, but Goku took her panties off earlier, so she flashes him, and that's a little weird and creepy. It's actually a lot weird and creepy. You got Master Roshi, who's over 100 years old, and then you've got Bulma, who is a 16-year-old girl. It's a little bit weird, and I can only assume that that is part of the culture in a lot of manga. I know that there is a lot of that goes on in manga, quite a bit more so than in American comics, and I shouldn't act like American comics are completely devoid of that sort of thing. You can just throw a rock at any superhero comic from the 90s, and you're going to get a lot of really exaggerated, not in any way anatomically correct female characters from a superhero book, and that is very exaggerated in a kind of sexual way, but it's also very different than what you get in this book. So just bear that in mind. If you are a little bit of a prude, kind of like myself, you might not like that in this book. It's not like it's on every single page. There's only, I think, one page where you're actually seeing Bulma in the shower. So that's just a real quick thing that I was able to ignore it and just move past it and get back into the martial arts fairy tale adventure story. But if that kind of thing bothers you a whole lot, you might not like this book. And it is a little bit weird at times, depending on the situation. I think that anytime it's Son Goku, where he's naive about the differences between boys and girls, that I felt like was okay. But then we have Master Roshi wanting to look at a 16-year-old girl in her panties. That's a little bit weird. But anyway, this book does introduce some of the main characters who we will be dealing with for a while. Like I said, Yamcha and Puar. I think it's Puar or Purar. And then you've got Oolong and Goku and Bulma, and just a hint of Master Roshi. Just a hint of, I want to say it's Chi-Chi, who Goku will later marry. She's here for like 2 pages, I think. So you get a whole lot of the main characters are introduced here. And in some cases, like I remember Yamcha from the cartoon, and I remember him being a friend and ally to the characters in the team. I guess I should say team, the characters who are the main characters in the show. But here he starts off as a bandit trying to rob them. So it's a little interesting seeing the start for some of these characters and see where they start off compared to where they end up later on down in the series. But anyway, I like this quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to reading the next several volumes of the series. So that's about all that I have to say about Dragon Ball Volume 1. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.